Hi, everyone. It's me, Carolyn, and we are going to be beginning some lectures on our chapter two for the textbook that we are using in our stats course. This chapter talks about graphing, and we're going to begin with graphing of qualitative data. Now, I want to remind you that qualitative data is descriptive type data. So like our hair color, our eye color, our zip code, again, remembering descriptive does not necessarily mean totally non-numerical, but numerical in a way that it's not really, you can't really do anything with the numbers that make sense. So again, your hair color, your eye color, and things of that nature. I'm going to put some more light on maybe so we can see better. There we go. So it's not so dark. We are in chapter two, and again, today we're talking about graphing of qualitative data. So first thing I'm going to do is share my screen so we can kind of go through those guided notes that I created. I'm also going to look at some examples on how we can actually create some graphs very briefly. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that because I want you guys to kind of play yourselves. A lot of times technology is best learned by just getting in there and doing it. So I do want to kind of go over a few things when you're doing some graphing. First of all, graphs, that's what we call these things that we use to display data. And you have seen them in your lifestyles. Anytime you pick up a newspaper, anytime you look in magazines, a lot of times when you're just walking down the hallway at the schools, you will see graphs displayed everywhere. So first of all, when you are creating graphs, so if you were to create these things, some things that good graphs should have. I have seen a lot of bad graphs, even at educational situations, and it just kind of turns my stomach a little bit because we are professionals. We should know what is supposed to be in these graphs, but a lot of times people just get lazy and forget to do all the fine details. So some of the good things that should be in there is you should have some legends or keys. Now, not all graphs need legends and keys, but you want to make sure to label things completely. Okay, you don't have to over label. I've also seen that sometimes good graphs or graphs over label, and I would not consider that a good graph. You should have an X and Y axis, of course, depending on the graph. Not all graphs will have an X and Y axis, and we will see one today that will not. But if we do have X and Y axis, make sure to label those things with something that's meaningful. In other words, it will tell the reader what they're looking at, what that aspect represents. You also want to have some sort of meaningful scale. You do not want to have a lot of empty graph space, although you do not want to be misleading. So we'll talk about misleading later in the chapter, and I'll show you some examples of some misleading graphs, just so that you are aware that it is very easy to make a graph somewhat tainted. Okay. You should have a title. Your graph should always have a title of some sort, and the title should explain what this data that we're looking at or what this picture is that we're looking at. And if you do know the source of the data, it should be included somewhere. Sometimes it's down in like the key or the legend. Sometimes it's put kind of underneath the title, things of that nature. Quite briefly, we're going to just talk of some of the graphs that we can use to represent qualitative data. I am going to show you a frequency table, and a frequency table is most of the time not something that is displayed to others, but it is used to help us organize our data or to help us get ready for that next step. Okay, we can do a bar chart or a bar graph. Column graphs, same kind of idea. These graphs use bars, either going vertically or horizontally. If they go vertically, we like to call them a bar chart. If they go horizontally. We like to call them a column graph or a bar graph. And I mean column graphs, bar charts, column charts. The word chart and graph are a lot of times interchanged just frequently. So just be aware that a chart and a graph usually represent the same thing. There is a specific bar or column chart called a Pareto. A Pareto is one in which the bars are shown in decreasing order. So as you're reading from left to right or top to bottom, the bars will get smaller. Okay, and this is only done using qualitative data. When we start talking about numerical data, we do not want to switch the bars around, because then we are reordering things and it just gets chaotic. Okay. The other one that we'll see here in this section is a pie chart or a circle graph or a circle chart. All of those. And again, these kind of graphs are best to show our percentages. And we'll talk about percentages as well. So bar graphs a lot of times will show frequency or how many. And the pie charts will show our percentages of that total. Okay, I did just kind of quickly create some data that we have to play with, and I just made this up. So this represents absolutely nothing. But this is what I mean by a frequency table or a frequency chart. Okay, I'm going to kind of just like a table. So we have a table. I do have my labeling up here. This is going to be my hair coloring. I'm going to leave a spot for tally marks. Frequency, I'll do that later, and then relative frequency, we'll do that as well, just so you know what those pieces mean. So let's say I was sitting down in the cafeteria and I was just looking at people's hair color for whatever reason, and to my best of my able to categorize people, I noticed brown hair, blonde hair, black hair, and I kind of added as I needed to. We had gray, and then we had a couple people that walked in with no hair. So I just started making tally marks, remembering 5, put the slash through. This is something that we probably did way back in grade school. I hope that it's not something that is dying, because it is something that's easy to do. And once we have this down, what we're going to do is turn this into our frequency. In other words, turn our tallies into numerical numbers. So I have 15, I have 8, I have 11, I have 3, and then I have 2. I might want to add these things up just so I know how many total people I have. I find my calculator. I don't. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to be adding those numbers. So my 15 and my 8, my 11, my 3 and my 2. I have 39 total people. I usually add twice, once going down, the other one going back up, just to make sure that I don't screw something up. So we have 39 people. So if you were thinking of in terms of terminology that we learned in chapter 1, this is my sample size, because I'm sure that this is not all the people in the world, or all the people that use the cafeteria, or all the people at whatever school we're at happen to be. What we can do is we can turn this into something we call relative frequency. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can get the whole. There we go. Relative frequency. And what that is your count, your 15, divided by that 39. So we're going to turn it into a decimal in terms of percentage, or in terms of a percentage. I'm going to take my 15 and I'm going to divide that by 39. It will be a really ugly number. There is no right way to round these. I'm just going to go to 3 decimals. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly, because after I've done 1, you're like, oh, that's easy. I can do this. So 8 divided by the 39. Again, I'm going 2 decimals. 5. Okay. And we might want to double check to add these up. We should get 1 when we're done. These are also, if you want to think of them, the percentage of each group. So the percentage that had brown hair would be that 38.5%. So moving my decimal 2 places. So this is the percentage in its decimal form. And we have 100% of our sample listed here. So these numbers should round up or add up, cannot talk today, add up to 100%. Okay, I'm going to show you how to create a few graphs using this data. I'm going to show you kind of in StatCrunch, and I'm also going to kind of show you in Excel. And the reason I like to use these two pieces is, first of all, StatCrunch is the one that is available to us in our Blackboard or our homework system. It is the Pearson product that we are using, so they do allow us to use StatCrunch. It is free while you are using this material. However, once you are no longer using Pearson, StatCrunch does not become free anymore. So I try to show you how to do things in Excel. I use Excel mostly because that's what I've been using for a long time. However, Excel and Google Sheets are very, very similar. So Google Sheets is available to almost everyone. Excel is on many, many, many computers. So it's probably the two most common things that are out there. I just chose to use Excel. So first of all, I am going to go to my StatCrunch page. So I'm going to go to StatCrunch so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so this is what StatCrunch looks like. Once you've logged into it, you'll get this little StatCrunch, and then you have all of this information. Okay, so what I have done is I kind of put in the brown, black, all the information here. What I did is you can simply go up and click on that variable piece. I just clicked on it, and that's where I changed it to hair color, and I changed this one to frequency. And so then I have my colors in there and I have my frequencies. Now, if you want to create a graph using this data, we can go to this graph, and you'll notice we have a lot of graphs here. We've got bar plots, again, plot, graph, chart, got a pie chart, we've got charts, column chart or a group stats, we've got a histogram, stem and leaves, box plots. We won't be doing all of these because we just won't. Okay, so let's just say I wanted to do a bar chart. So I'm going to hit bar chart. I'm going to say with data, sure, why not? I don't know the difference. Play with it. Where you want them. I'm going to select both of these. Whoa, what's it doing for me? Giving me different pieces. I want to select both of these. Oh, I don't want to. Shoot, Carolyn. Start over. I'm going to do with summary. There we go. Categories are in. Variable 1. Counts are in. So you want to do with the summary because that's what I have. I don't have the original data. So if I had the original data, like brown, black, whatever, or just the numbers, that would have been the with data. Since I have summarized my data, I'm going to use the with summary. That's the difference. I had a brain lapse for a second there. Please apologize, but I am human and I will make mistakes on these videos. Just flow with me. Again, the bar plot with summary is when you have it summarized, which is what we have if you had the original data. So let's just say we had ages and we had everybody's age listed. That would have been the data. Okay, this is where we can place it. The type, we want to do a frequency graph. We could do value ascending or descending worksheet. I'm just going to leave it with the default to see what we get. Notice this is where you can put in some labeling. Here's your X label, your Y label, and your title. So again, you do want to make sure to put those in there. So my X label, that's going to be my hair color. My Y label is going to be my frequency. And my title, let's see, hair color of students entering the CAF. Just whatever. We can put horizontal lines, we can add some vertical lines, we can have one row per page and so forth. I'm just going to hit my compute button and boom, there's my graph. Okay, so notice we do have some scaling here. It does label it up at the top. Here's my hair color. There's my label down here. There's my title. Notice we did have it graphing ascending. Now, what they mean by ascending is not ascending as far as the frequencies went, but notice it went alphabetical order. So just kind of be aware that ascending means we're going to ascend the X values or whatever categories we have. Play with it, see if you can get it to ascend, doing making a Pareto, which would be starting with the 15, the 11, the 8, the 3, and the 2, going in decreasing order, so those bars would get shorter. Okay, but play with it. You can do circle charts and so forth. I'm not going to show you any more here because go in here and just play. Again, pie chart with summary because we have a summary of the information. We don't have the raw data. Okay, so those are the two. We will get to these other ones, some of them anyway, a little later in this chapter and a few later on down the road. Okay, I also want to go into Excel so we can see that as well. So we're going to go into my Excel page. Excel is a software that is on most computers, at least HPs and such. I believe Apple do not have Excel and Word. They use a different program. But again, it is very similar to other spreadsheet forms. Okay. Again, what I have already done just to save some time is to add this hair color and frequencies in here so we can find it. What I like to do in Excel is I like to grab my data. So I'm grabbing my data. I highlighted it using my mouse. And then I am going to insert. Okay, so it's going to be under my insert button. And then we have all these charts. So these recommended charts. I'm just going to do for this problem, since we did a bar graph in the last one, I am going to do a pie chart in this one. Okay, so and we have options here. We can do 3-dimensional, we can do donuts. Here's my 2-dimensional pie. There it is. Pretty boring. Notice that it does give me a really funny frequency table title. I can just click on that. So I'm kind of highlighting my mouse and clicking on it. It does give you the categories down here. We can add things, so our chart elements. We can add data labels. We can add other things. You can do a right click on the pie itself and add data labels. I will put some other information out for you on some of the highlights on like putting in percentages. That'd be a nice thing to have when you are doing a pie chart. Most of the time, pie charts are used to show percentages. These numbers that I have in here are not the percentages, they are the actual counts. So I'd probably want to change that different. So trying to remember if I could remember how to do this quickly off the top of my head, but I will put some information in our Blackboard course so that it can do that. Otherwise, just play with it, have fun. You can change colors. There's so many things you can do. I recommend to people that really want to play with some of this. We have an excellent Excel course, or there are many Excel courses out there because Excel has so many features out there that are fabulous. And we're just going to hint on a couple of them. But there are Excel classes out there. Feel free to take one. I'm going to stop my share here. Again, I will put some real basic how-tos in Excel, graphing in Excel in our Blackboard site for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. In our next video, we will actually be looking at some numerical data. We are actually going to break down a little bit into numerical data and have a couple videos. One that's going to just show the bar chart and a dot plot. And then we'll go into a couple others in a different video to kind of highlight those so that the videos don't get too long. Again, it was me, Carolyn. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Hopefully you're enjoying these videos, and I will see you in the next one.